And we're off. So, of course, runners starting in series, nothing notable here. One thing to note is that Azuly is using the Japanese text as opposed to English text. So, clearly an advantage there.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's clearly superior.
Right, we actually see pretty much synced up going into Series Ridley. Once again, nothing too special, but
I imagine that for the vast majority of this game, unless they decide to take different routes, they will look neck and neck because, like we had mentioned earlier, Azul's got a low 53 and John's got a mid 51, so their PBs really aren't that far apart. So there's probably going to be quite a bit of sync at a minimum all the way to Red Tower.
I would imagine so as well, but we could see some mistakes from either runner that would put them behind. Hopefully we don't, but you know, it's a race setting, anything can happen. Azuly finishing with a high 44 series. John, unfortunately, messed up the last couple rooms. Has a low 41, I believe, but that few seconds difference shouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, honestly, it's still anybody's game. We're going to see a couple potential differences in these runners. I actually don't know if Azul uses Moonfall or not. I do know for a fact that John does, so we'll find out if John can make up that time over Azul here in Parlor and Climb, or if Azul is going to be maintaining this couple second lead by also using Moonfall.
Right. Looks like he does. It's a pretty clean Moonfall there.
So both runners nailing the optimal down back strat in Parlor there.
Right. Definitely a bit tricky if you're not used to it.
One thing I've definitely learned about down backs, if you haven't run this game, is it's very, very counterintuitive. Because it's as its name implies, you press down and back from the way that you were intending to go. So it really takes a lot to get used to. Pressing left when you want to go right and right when you want to go left. And both of them nailing that without issue just kind of shows that they've developed some comfort with the concept of doing the counterintuitive inputs.
All right, we see Azuly about 5 seconds ahead, I'd say. So, of course, still nothing significant, but there's something to note.
And something that's definitely noteworthy is any early game lead can disappear with Phantoon RNG. So, and you know, at a minimum, I mean, honestly, between RNG and Phantoon, Dragon swoops, awkward Ridley patterns, Metroid drops, and Mother Brain patterns, anything can happen. The biggest time waster of those probably being Phantoon RNG. So, you know, there's still a lot of game left to play, and like I said, I imagine this is going to be a pretty tight race either way.
Yeah, you mentioned there's a lot of places to lose time. One of them right here, just the climb. If this goes badly, it could result in a lot of time lost, but looks like both runners got through it no problem.
Yeah, the climb, whether you decide to do the ledge grab climb, also as the behemoth climb or the traditional wall jump climb, is very technical. And, I believe Kip said that to have that level of technical play this early on is pretty surprising. And, both of them making it up to the top of the climb without issue is definitely a testament to the level they're playing at.
Here we have Bomb Teresa. Hopefully both of them get an optimal fight here. Of course, what you want to do is keep him back at this wall and shoot missiles into him. You do want to make sure that, well, what you have to do is, of course, shoot him 5 times with a normal beam before then, because if you don't, his head will break off, and that wastes a couple seconds, but it doesn't look like it happened to either runner.
Frankly, I'm not sure how to feel about those fights, because all they did was take the Bomb Chorizo brand chorizo sauce out of his hand and then start shooting him in the face. I think that's kind of rude, don't you, Derp?
Well, I mean, it's kind of rude that he's fighting you in the first place. Like, you're just trying to get your items, and he's over here, like,
I mean, if somebody stole your chorizo sauce, wouldn't you feel the same way?
Maybe.
Ooh, John, unfortunately, running out of missiles, getting some bad RNG there in the Green Pirate Shaft, so he's going to have to farm this Kago here so he can get the missiles he needs to actually open the door to early supers.
Right. Also messed up Alcatraz escape a little bit, so there's a pretty significant lead for Azuly right now, as he is already mockballing to the early supers. But once again, anything can happen. I can't stress that enough.
Because of the Alcatraz mishaps and the the ammo issue that he just had, as well as the bump in series, it looks like Azul is currently about 15 seconds ahead of John as he's at early supers. So it's still a lot of game, but 15 seconds is it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. Like I said, that can disappear at Fantoon in the blink of an eye.
Of course. We'll see how long he can keep this about 1 room lead, though. Because, actually, interestingly, he skipped the charge missiles.
Definitely an interesting choice. Usually runners only skip charge missiles if they get missile drops from both the Waver and, I can't remember the name of it, but the flying bug in the Decora room, so that they have 4 and don't have to worry as much about their ammo. The fact that he kept going without picking up charged missiles when he had 0 missiles is definitely an interesting choice.
You actually saw him wasting a super there, which makes me think that maybe he meant to pick up the missiles and forgot. So that is interesting. Of course, there's plenty of missiles you can pick up in this run. So he shouldn't be at a disadvantage, but it is something to note.
Well, and the only big time loss I can see coming out of this is how is he going to handle the pirates in the mini crate room? Because generally, the strategy when I work with there is to shoot 3 missiles to kill those, and then shoot either 2 missiles or a super to kill mini crate. Not having any missiles, looks like he's trying to farm up in the room with the little bugs, and just gets, although under normal circumstances, amazing RNG of 2 supers. Not quite what he was looking for.
This actually isn't awful, though. He can super all the pirates and then mini crate, and he'll have a full 5 supers. Assuming assuming Mini Kraid doesn't screw him over with a health drop, which it didn't. So he's still in a fine position.
Picking up that ammo drop from the pirate also gives him enough to do the missile quick kill setup if he wants to do that.
Right.
Which actually brings us to another interesting point. You know, there's a few different ways to do this quick kill attempt. One is you can use a charge beam to freeze his claw in place and then shoot 4 supers into his face. Or just like Azul attempted to do there, unfortunately he missed the super, or the first super shot, so he opened his mouth fully. Looks like Azul is taking Kraid to prom. And then the second method is to launch 2 missiles in quick succession to open his mouth and then just shoot above his claw while it's still moving with the supers.
Right. And we see John actually nailing the 2 missile 3 super strat, and even right there, the 15-20 second lead that Azuly had is just down to maybe 5 seconds. So there's still so many places where you can gain or lose time, and this race is far from over.
Still, Azul's not sitting on very good ammo right now. He kind of got shafted on the drops from Kraid too. His missile counts not looking the healthiest. You know, even with a max of 5, you know, only coming out of Kraid with a single missile drop, only having 2, is definitely not the position you want to be in.
And they're getting a bad key hunter patterns there, and John in the lead actually. So here's the first safety item of the run, picking up the extra energy tank here at Kraid. I assume this means both runners are going with the 4E tank strategy, although it wouldn't be too surprising to see them pick up 5 or 6, depending on how their health is in Lower Norfair.
Yeah, generally 4 tanks is where they're gonna want to end up. If either of them is concerned about the end game, they may pick up the E tank behind Ridley. But I think most likely we're just gonna see the 4. That's who they've already got, the one from High Jump and then the one by Botwin.
See Azuly only having 1 super missile right now. Definitely worrying. Having a bit of trouble here. That was...
He missed the Soba on the way over and opted to go up and shoot the door instead of just killing it on the way back up. I believe just dropping down and shooting it before you go up to the missiles is slightly faster than what he did. But at least he doesn't have to worry about remembering to kill the Soba on his way back through the room.
Right. Yeah, we can see the 15-20 second lead that Azuly had. Now John has, as well as John being in a much better situation when it comes to ammo.
Yeah, I mean, if Azul doesn't remember that he needs to save that super for Cathedral, then he may be in a really bad position because getting a super drop in Cathedral is rather difficult. So if he doesn't use red missiles on this red door, then he's going to be... Okay, he did. So I was going to say he could have been potentially stuck in Cathedral trying to find a super missile to use, but he seems to have realized that and adjusted accordingly.
Right. So, John having a bit of trouble setting up the jump up Bubble Mountain, but he gets it first try. Using
dispatching of the first boss of the game, King Cack Attack.
Right.
He likes to troll.
Don't remind me. I think it happened to both of us in that race, actually. We both got trolled by the Cack Attack.
We did. Each got trolled once, yeah.
But what he did there was he charged a pseudo screw so that the enemies there wouldn't knock him down. So that's a strat that people can opt to use. It takes a little bit of time to actually charge the shot, I believe, but it's a lot safer.
Yeah, charging a charge shot takes 60 frames or 1 full second to charge to where you can shoot a charge shot. At 120 frames is when you can initiate a special beam attack. If you have a charge and 1 other beam equipped, but unless you have power bombs selected, then you can't do the SBA. So as long as you take 1 full second to charge that, you get the pseudo screw, and pseudo screw will do 200 damage, which is able to kill the King Cack attack because it has I want to say 60.
Did John stream freeze? Oh, it's back. Never mind. We good.
Azul having a little issue with the room that I not so affectionately refer to as the real worst room in the game, Double Chamber. Falling down on the left side cost a little bit of time and having some issue with those platforms.
Right, but he picks up his wave beam with not too much problem, as both runners should be heading out of Norfair and up to Fantoon. You can see, once again, though, John's still having a lot better ammo than Azuly does. So he's going to hope for some super drops from these Sobas here.
Unfortunately, he actually does not need that many supers from here. If you have 2 supers, if you don't Doppler Fantoon, and you have 2 supers leaving Speed Farm, you've got 1 for the speed door, 1 for the wave door. You've got a cack attack below Spazer that'll give you 1, almost guaranteed. You've got 2 cack attacks in Red Tower that'll give you 3, or 2 more, so you've got 3. That'll give you the wreck ship entrance door, the door into the basement, and the Fantoon eye door. So as long as you have at least 2 leaving Speed Farm, you're golden. So since he's got 3 and he hasn't even gotten to the cack attacks, I think Azul sitting in a pretty good spot.
Right, but it doesn't leave him with any room to, say, mess up a super, although he did end up picking one up on his way out of Norfair, so he will have 1 extra for wreck ship.
And if he, I'm not sure how Azul does Fantoon. If he opts to Doppler, then that'll put him in a position to use a super for the kill.
I think both players got Alpha Spark, actually. So that's a neat little thing. Azuly having a bit cleaner Red Tower than John did.
But having some issues with Hellway. And they're farming up some solid ammo drops in Hellway, so Azul's ammo is sitting prettier now.
Right.
Looks like John's still holding about a 20-second lead right now. But, really, it's hard to say if that's going to hold until after Fantoon, because if we get some odd patterns, then Azul could pick up a lead back.
Yeah, once we get past Fantoon, we can really determine who has a lead over the other. And even then, there's still a lot of things after Fantoon that can cause some problems. Good spark over the moat from John. Azuly going for the full ocean fly here. He picked up moat missile. That might actually have been intentional since he missed charge missile, but
just barely missing the ocean fly there.
Right, that was really close, but He's just gonna go for the backup spark here, and he's fine. Good speedball there from John into Fantoon. Pretty tricky. He did back up a little bit, so he had a bigger window to short charge, but it's still not easy. And same for Azuly, as they are both starting Fantoon. Opening up with a slow for John right off the bat.
So John is opting to use the Doppler strat instead of the X Factor strats.
Right. Of course, like we said, he does do a Fantoon first route, so he might be more comfortable with the Doppler. Azuly is going for the X Factor strat, it looks like. And, actually, that puts him about equal with John, exiting Fantoon, both getting the kill at nearly the exact same time.
And just like that, 20 seconds vanishes.
Right, one advantage that Azuly did is, of course, going for the X Factor. He was able to get a much easier 2-round, whereas John went for a 3-round Doppler. 3 or 4, I'm not totally sure. And so that is pretty significant, especially since I believe he got a slow pattern on the 3rd round. So that's the scary part about Fantoon. Like, going an extra round, you never know if he's just gonna immediately give you a slow pattern and punish you for the extra round.
Fortunately, Fantoon didn't give them any trolley patterns, so in the second and subsequent rounds of the fight, Fantoon has 4 common patterns. If he starts on the right, he can go mid or slow. A mid is 6 seconds after moving, a slow is 12 seconds, and a fast is 1 second. John getting the spark through Attic, but actually missing the second atomic there, so costing him a couple seconds. And Azul opting to forego the Attic spark altogether. But anyway, Fantoon has a very, very rarely, almost never will do a right fast or a left mid. And a lot of runners, because those patterns are so rare, a lot of runners either haven't seen them or practiced them and aren't quite sure how to handle them. And sometimes it can completely catch you off guard because you're just so used to seeing one of the other 4 patterns, you don't see it. And that can cost more than just the 1 or 6 seconds that it takes for Fantoon to open his eye the first time.
Actually, Azuly had full health coming into Bowling Alley, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem since both of the runners are most likely picking up the Batoon energy tank right after that, so that will be shortly. But it is something to note, as John has about a 5-second lead, maybe a little bit more than that, going into Bowling Alley.
Still, here we are, kind of close to what I would consider the halfway point. We're through the second boss. We've picked up the second suit, and these runners are 5 seconds apart. This is still a very close race, and it's still anybody's game.
Right. So, see John pseudo-screwing the grabs there. Missed the second one, so just missile them down.
There's one thing to note here that can definitely reclaim some of John's lead is the ammo counts. Azul only has one power bomb, which is kind of rough because when you're going into Meridia, you need one for the tube, you need one to get into the aqueduct, and if you do the optimal strat for Botwoon, you need a third to do the X Factor on Botwoon. And if Botwoon doesn't give you any good drops, you need a fourth to be able to do X Factor on Dragon if you X Factor Dragon. Azul only having one means he's reliant, or two now because he farmed the crab there. I think he, or B-Tom rather, realized what his ammo count was looking like. He's a little bit more reliant on RNG from the crabs in Meridia than John is. John has 5 and he has more than enough health to get all the way to the Botwoon E-Tank without issue. So he's going to be in full go mode, and it's going to be interesting to see where Azul tries to pick up those power bombs and if the crabs actually troll him or not.
Right, really interesting that Azuli only having one power bomb didn't choose to farm the crabs in Criteria or the caterpillars, whatever their actual name is, but those enemies in Red Tower. Instead, just picking up the one guaranteed power bomb from the frog. They're lower in Red Tower, but it is paying off for him in time, as he is back ahead of John. So we'll see if he can get a drop here quickly. Or maybe he's just not going for the X Factor. That would be an interesting choice.
So the biggest detriment to not doing the X Factor, Botwoon has 3,000 health. Each super and each X Factor particle do 300 damage. So the X Factor allows you to only need 6 supers to beat Botwoon. That way you don't have to worry about ammo getting 2 Dragon. Not using the X Factor requires 10 supers or 9 supers and either 2 charge shots or 3 missiles for every super you don't have.
And Azuli missed a couple supers there, so, and I believe John did as well, or maybe he didn't get the X Factor, I'm not sure. So both runners had to just resolve to standing in the corner and shoot the...
that's a major RNG difference. John got amazing drops from Botwoon, leaving with all the missiles and supers and power bombs he needs to get all the way through Meridia, with Azul not having any supers and having a really low missile count. So he's going to lose a couple seconds here because he's going to have to farm to have the ammo he needs to get to Dragon.
These guys are really not giving him supers. It took him a while to get the second one he needed. Interestingly enough, he's going to farm for a couple more than he needs. Of course, he needs 2. 1 to open the green door before Precious Room, and then 1 to open the eye door before Dragon. But he chose to farm for all 10, which did lose him a significant amount of time. So you will have to put those to good use. This is interesting. That was a very interesting setup for full halfy, but unfortunately did not quite get it. It's a shame. I would have liked to see it.
I don't think I've ever seen that setup before.
Right, I actually want to know what the window is on that, because that is a very unique setup.
So I know the Shine Spark lasts for 3 seconds, which is 180 frames. To get full halfy, you want to get through the door at the top of the halfy climb room with at least, at the absolute bare minimum, 11 frames left on that 3 seconds, so that you can have enough time to get into position and activate the Shine Spark. So the gravity jump it definitely takes a little bit away from that. You do have some good upward momentum, but it's still slower than doing a wall climb. So unless, I mean, at the very best, I imagine you could get a halfy with that, but I don't think a full halfy is possible with that setup.
The other thing to note is you lose a lot of time just from pausing. Like, a significant chunk of the time you would get from full halfy, you lose just from menuing twice. But he did have a significantly cleaner Dragon fight than John. Gets a little bit of chain damage there, but he's okay. And he has the blue suit while John doesn't. So despite the bad RNG having to farm for supers, he is not too far behind.
Getting correction from chat here. Apparently the gravity jump set up for full half, it gives you a larger frame window than the wall jump climb gives you, and it is an old strat that was used by Hodarubi back in the day. So my apologies, chat.
Azuly didn't actually spark there. I think he accidentally ran forward before crouching to activate the Shine Spark. So he just has to wall jump across like John did. And you can see he's exactly one room behind here. So that was a pretty significant time save that he just didn't get.
Fortunately, at this juncture in the game, and a awkward goop spark there from John, trying to set up for the plasma spark in the plasma spark room, but hitting a goop there. Anyway, for the rest of the run, it's a lot less about ammo, at least until Turian, and more about execution. As long as they are moving through the rooms as efficiently as possible, they can either gain or lose time for the rest of the run. The only exception to that, as far as ammo is concerned, is paying attention to your power bomb count on your way into Lower Norfair, because they've got full supers. They are not worried about having enough supers to get through all the way to Ridley.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that. Both runners do, sure, ammo management isn't as important at this point, but both runners do have full supers, which isn't always something you'll have coming into Plasma Room. So the runners are definitely going to be pretty happy about that. You see Azuly going for the best moonfall there. I'm pretty sure I'm the only other person that actually does that. So good to see someone else. And I think Azuly's about 15 seconds behind. But
to be honest, I'm still coming to terms with the fact that he was using a Hodarubi strat in Coliseum, but I'll take a look at the timer when we get to ice to figure out exactly what the time difference is. Either way, this is still an incredibly close race, and we're still in a position of anything can happen.
Right. Of course, one person could have a bad Lower Norfair at really any point. Like having a bad Ridley, bad Lower Norfair escape, or even just picking up, if they manage their power bombs wrong and have to pick up power bombs of shame. There's still a lot of time to lose in Lower Norfair. Even with Plasma, this can be a pretty difficult section.
Looks like there's 21 seconds in favor of John on ice pickup right now. John actually opting to go north route on the way to Lower Norfair rather than go straight down from ice. The south route is, if optimally done, a couple seconds faster, but it does require a couple of tricks that are fairly easy to mess up. You have to go through a speedway, open a door, and start a space jump and maintain that to the end of the next room, and then open the door and maintain your run speed so that you can get an optimal jump through the Yapping Maw grapple room. I don't remember the name of it, but we'll see it as Azul setting up to do both of those tricks now.
Right. And it looks like he got it, actually. Pretty good heading into the door. Looks like he stopped a little bit early, but still a pretty nice trick, or pretty nice room overall.
Getting optimal speed through the Yapping Maw room and making his way into the lava dive, just a little bit behind John. So one big difference in time there. It's pretty minimal if you are planning to do the power bomb strategy in the pillar room, but if you don't pick up an extra power bomb, then when you get to the pillar setup room, you'll actually be one power bomb short. So he had to stop there and farm that viola. Only cost him about a second to do it, but it is a thing that makes a difference. And John having a little bit of a goop there in the pillar room, so that he's going to have to resort to the power bomb strats as well.
Yeah, it looked like he like the setup for the spark, he pressed diagonal, but instead he accidentally did a diagonal spark. So definitely not what you want to do, and we see Azuli getting it pretty soundly, I guess.
Yeah, so it's worth noting, Azuli, instead of doing a stutter, went into the room to the left, the Ripper room there, to set up a 2-tap. That is actually the same speed as using the power bombs if you get it first try and set it up, or get over there and set it up pretty quickly. So doing a stutter is faster if you're going to do fast pillars, but doing a 2-tap is no faster than doing the power bomb strategy. Kind of makes me curious why he stopped to farm that extra power bomb in the room right before lava dive, if he was planning on going for fast pillars, if he was just getting it for a safety, or if there was another reason.
Right, but it does mean he has plenty of power bombs coming up to use the last couple rooms before Ridley, so he should be fine there. Nice Kago from John. I didn't see if he got the first one. Oof.
Yeah, John did get both. That was a good double Kago from him.
Azuli just going for the normal Kago. Like what you want to do there is you want to damage boost off of the spikes. So the spikes do 15 damage, and I believe the spike platform does 50. So what you want to do is damage yourself off of the spikes, so you take less damage on the double Kago. Azuli was going for just Kagoing through the platform, but unfortunately didn't get it.
Azuli doing a little bit of a safer strat, going through the Plower House here, making sure he's killing the owl, I don't know what they're called, the owl creatures there, to preserve some health for Ridley.
Right, he's got 4 E-Tanks in Plasma, but Ridley can still be a challenge if you aren't very comfortable with it, especially in a race setting with nerves and all.
Well, and depending on who you ask, Ridley is the biggest troll in the game.
Right, but generally in old route, he's a lot more tame since you kill him a lot quicker than in routes such as new route or low percent or RBO. He's having a little bit of trouble getting the shots here. We see John going for the energy tank behind Ridley. Probably just a safety strat for Mother Brain, since he seemed to have plenty of health going out of, or coming out of the Ridley fight. But
Well, in getting that E-Tank, one is a safety and for Mother Brain, so you don't have to worry about if you eat a single ketchup.
no, of course.
And two, because it allows you to just body through the Key Hunters in the Key Hunter room and the Three Musketeers room without having to worry too much about your health situation, which can make this Lower Norfair escape a lot faster. Generally, it's an accidental Kago there. Generally, that is not worth the time it would take to pick up the E-Tank, which is why most people don't end up doing it. But in a race setting for the safety for Mother Brain, it's definitely worth considering.
But in general, you don't really want to pick up that energy tank unless your health is really bad coming out of Ridley. But if it's what he wants, if he feels a lot safer doing it, then it makes sense.
Right. Well, and it's also possible he's watching the race and sees he has a little bit of a lead and opted to do it for the safety. And if he were behind, he wouldn't have done so. There's really no way to tell unless we actually ask him what's going through his head.
Right. But he is pretty far ahead. He had a much cleaner Lower Norfair in general, but especially Ridley. And he's, I would say, close to 30 seconds ahead coming out of Lower Norfair escape, even with the extra energy tank.
We'll definitely have a good bearing on what their times are looking like when they make it to Golden 4, which they both should be coming up on here in just a couple of minutes.
Right.
But there's still the major source of RNG that comes with the Metroid rooms. If they are using their supers and don't get supers from the Metroids, they can lose a pretty significant amount of time.
Don't remind me. Come on. Why you gotta bring that up?
I mean, in all fairness, you had all the stuff you needed. You just didn't realize it.
Right. Yeah, dude. Race nerves are something else, though. You know, like, you don't realize how much it actually affects you until you're actually there. So that could account for a lot of the mistakes both of these runners are doing right now.
I think more than race nerves, it's tournament nerves, because a lot of runners have been in races before, but nothing in a competitive setting like this, especially for the newer members of our community. So having a first tournament match with the community or being new to racing with the community is definitely an incredibly nerve-wracking experience, to say the least.
Of course, as well, these two runners are very close in terms of PBs, so they could feel even more pressure in the sense of, the other guy is a lot or just as good as I am, so I need to play my best. So they could feel pressure with that logic as well. And John is, I feel like, pulling even farther ahead. He's, I'd say, about a minute at this point. So, assuming everything goes well in Turian, he should have this on lock. But you never know.
There's still a lot of game left, man. This is like 5 minutes left at the end of the football game. there is a lot of game left to play. As well, opting to go for the Shine Spark Up method in Mount Everest rather than doing the traditional wall climb and space jump up method. Don't actually know if that saves time or if it's about the same, but it does cost him a little health. Fortunately, his health isn't really too much of a concern where it's at, because once he gets to the Metroid rooms, he'll be making up quite a bit of health.
You can see BlackEliteJohn entering G4 at about 44.37. So he's on, what is that, low 52 pace?
Sounds about right.
Low to mid.
As well, not 52. Far behind.
Right, interesting that he went back for that. Is that a missile drop?
It was indeed a missile drop.
Yeah, he went back for that, but didn't pick up the super that the scree. I think that's called a scree. But didn't go back for that drop. Once again, race nerves might be getting to him.
Well, and if he's watching the race, he might be aware of how close it is right now, or that he's behind, and might be, the nerves might be coming from that as well.
Of course. He enters at about a 45.33, so about 55 seconds behind.
Yeah,
but still 55. A good pace. John going for some grouping strats with the Metroids.
Clean first two rooms. Third room also clean. A little bit of a hiccup there. It looks like he didn't get the supers he was hoping for.
I've seen this before.
Very likely he leaves missiles in the final room.
He gets the drops though. He's fine.
He decided he didn't want to, dare I say, TG derp. Sorry guys, no funny jokes here, nothing to see.
Doesn't look like he's gonna go for the baby skip as we see him damaging himself down. What he's doing here is he's charging up a pseudo screw, and that pseudo screw will cancel his iframes, so he can damage himself multiple times in succession.
Definitely, if you're not comfortable with baby skip, it's better, especially in a race setting, it's better to just not go for it. Because if you go for it and miss it, all the time you spend trying to get the skip, you lose, which averages out somewhere around 10 seconds, depending on the number of jumps it takes for you to get caught. So while if you do get it optimally, you can save 20 or more seconds, you can lose 10 if you go for it and miss it. So not entirely surprised that he opted to completely forego attempting it.
Oh, I agree completely. But would have liked to see it, but that's fine. He's still pretty far ahead going into... About to reach Mother Brain 1 here. So... And of course, he does have the safety E-Tank. Does miss the Zeb skip, and the ring is kind of trolling him there. He's not getting the ring to shoot.
It looked like at first he was setting up for a down back skip and missed it, so he kind of had to adapt on the fly.
Right, and the ring took a pretty significant amount of time to set up. Azuly looks like he got the Metroid skip.
Yeah, it took him a few extra jumps, so probably saved around 15 seconds there. Definitely made up some time.
Yeah, 15-20 seconds, but I think at this point, it's John's game to lose.
Oh, I hesitate to say that until after Mother Brain 2.
I mean, he could have a bad Mother Brain 2, but...
The extra E-Tank he picked up really does kind of make that true. He picking up the extra E-Tank protects you against Ketchup, having 5 instead of 4. Ketchup does 100 damage, but it can double hit randomly, which would make it do 200, and you need at least 301 energy to survive the Rainbow Beam. So... making sure that you, like, if he were to make a mistake and get a hit from the Ketchup, which it didn't look like he did there, he would have been okay with taking that single hit. If he didn't have the extra E-Tank, then he can't afford to get hit by a catch-up because the double hit possibility could completely ruin it.
So it was really making up a good amount of time in Turian, but unfortunately for him, it looks like John has this. Of course, he still has Mother Brain 3 in the climb, but I don't imagine he's going to get any significant time losses there. Unless he decides to save the animals, of course.
That would be the objectively wrong thing to do.
Azuli unfortunately took a catch-up to the face there. And yeah, he's gonna die from here, and definitely
that is unfortunate. That was a very, very good run from Azul, keeping pace with John the whole time and coming up to Mother Brain with actually no, saved at the beginning of Turian, so not completely out of it. I didn't actually see him save, so it looks like he's still going to keep going to finish the run, but he is going to have to go through the Metroid rooms and baby skip again.
Right. It does mean he does get to finish his run within a sub-hour time, but he's having a little bit of trouble with this Metroid. Probably really feeling the pressure now that he died. He might not know that John is already basically finished. Yeah, they're just gonna kill him. Oh no, he got it. You see John finishing up Mother Brain 3. He's all but done at this point.
Yeah, John's got just the escape left. Usually the escape, there's plenty of places you can lose time, but there's really nowhere you can lose a run. And considering the death that Zul had on Mother Brain 2, I think it is 100% fair to say at this point, it is John's race to lose.
All right, Azuli not having a super, only has 9, but he can actually get through without ever going to the refill. If he just uses missiles on the first door and supers the next 2, he will have 15 missiles and 7 supers, and that's the minimum ammo you need to get through the Mother Brain 1. But he might choose to refill anyways, depending on how confident he is that he can hit every shot. Didn't get the baby skip second time. And I think John went for a Behemoth Spark there, but didn't quite spark. So, but he's within seconds of the end of the game, so it doesn't matter too much. Not quite gonna get a 52 because of that, but still gonna finish with well, the runners aren't using SRL, but finishing with a time of 53:06.
Congratulations to BlackEliteJohn on his victory, and here we'll be seeing Azul finish up his run here, hopefully having a little bit better luck the second time around with Mother Brain 2.
Right. Really unfortunate what happened to him the first time. I think what happened was because Mother Brain had already shot a catch-up, so I assume he didn't expect the second one to come through. And we see on stream he won anyways, so definitely an incredible performance by Azuli. And also the production. No, I'm kidding. It's a little bit of an error. I assume that's going to get fixed. Unfortunately, Azuli doesn't have game audio on. So I guess we're going to have a quiet stream from here on. Oh, maybe he is using sound. Okay.
Mother Brain with some really aggressive patterns this time around.
Yeah, she's gonna shoot another catch up here, but he dodged that. Really good dodges on both of those catch ups. And so he's set for about a 58 pace run. So even with the death, not too bad of a time. Having a bit of fun with the stream here. Bit of fun with the stream here. Hearing the stream in John. I think we switched audio to John, and he probably watching the stream. So I think we just heard ourselves coming from John's stream. Yeah, unfortunately a bit of troubles with the audio, but we're just wrapping up here, so it's not too much of a problem.
A pretty clean Mother Brain 3, getting ready to set up for the escape sequence here. Again, at this point, run is pretty much free for completion. Definitely still a few places that you can lose time, but not the ultimate concern right now.
Right, looks like, I think I said 58 earlier, but it looks like he's going to finish with a low to mid 59, depending on how the escape goes. So, you know, still a sub-hour time, definitely impressive considering the death that he took. So, definitely props to him.
See if Azul is going to make the objectively correct decision and let the animals burn.
What are you talking about? I think he's going to make the moral decision here. Let them live. Kill the frames.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Wild Anaconda who did the math to figure out exactly how many frames you're killing by saving 4 animals.
It's
and
like,
the number is very large.
It's like 23 seconds, right?
I'm not entirely sure.
Well, he's going to let him burn, and finishing with a time of 59:17. So GG to both runners. That was an excellent race.
Absolutely. Fantastic job by both runners. Unfortunate death by Azul, but still a pretty solid time, a completed run. Congratulations to BlackEliteJohn on the win. I can proudly say that no animals were saved in the creation of this SRL race, or in the creation of this tournament race. And fortunately, there are 7 more races happening today on Speed Gaming. So if you haven't checked out the spreadsheet, or the speed gaming schedule to find out when those are. Though we have 7 more today, and there's going to be like 70 more to come in the next 5 weeks. So feel free to check out the other speed gaming channels and check out the rest of the tournament. Unless you have something else, I think that's all I've got for today, Derp.
We actually have, I believe we have a race going on right now between Linksex Unlimited and Magoo. So that should be on Speed Gaming 4 according to the spreadsheet. I don't know.
I can check.
I don't know.
Yes, that is on Speed Gaming 4. Magoo versus Lynx with Poplars and Antinomy doing commentary over there.
Right, so if you can't get enough Super Metroid, there's more you can watch starting right now. So go check that out, I guess. Or you can stick with us. We're cool.
Sometimes. On that note, thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate the support. Appreciate everybody in the community being here as well. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I am signing off.
Peace.